Well, greetings and thank you so very much for joining me this evening. My name is Dr. Robert Bartosh of Proactive Wellness and Injury Center, and as the slide says, we're going to be talking here tonight about sleep, and I've entitled it Sleep 101. So, having welcomed everyone, let's go ahead and get into it, all right? Great. So let's talk about the lack of sleep. That's where we want to start here first because it's one of the biggest health challenges that people face today. And that, of course, is lack of sleep. As a matter of fact, it's been estimated that over 50 to 70 million adult Americans suffer from a sleep or a wakefulness disorder. You know, you've heard of sleep apnea, I'm sure, and it's becoming more and more common and prevalent throughout our society each and every day. And and given that to be healthy, we have to be spending 1/3 of our entire lives asleep. And that figure is really pretty staggering. So let me repeat that so that we understand. In order to enjoy the best performance of our life, the time that we live on this earth, actually we need to be spending or should come up to about 1/3 of the total time in sleep. Now, this can be due to a number of reasons, as with many health issues, it can be influenced by varying external factors, or it could be that people aren't creating the space in their schedule for adequate sleep, or not understanding the importance of it. You know, a lot of people just dismiss the importance of sleep like it's a non-issue. And because of that, they're letting any sleep-related responsibilities actually go uncared for. So by attending to our sleep-related needs, what we can do is ensure the rest of our day is going to be maximized. So the better the quality sleep you get, the better the day that follows is going to be. And when you get that right amount of sleep, it's going to enhance your health, your productivity levels, and overall, it's going to cultivate a deeper connection with the world around you as we possess the energy, that we need in order to enjoy it. So, what's a good night's sleep? Well, a good night's sleep, it's actually can be defined by a period of about, now this is not hard and fast, it's going to vary from individual to individual, but between 6 to 9 hours a night or during the sleep, depending upon when it is you sleep. And that, of course, depends on the individual's activity levels. And during that 6 to 9 hours, we need at least 20% of it to be a deep sleep, and at least a quarter of it, 25% of it, is what is known as a REM sleep. However, it's not just the quality of the sleep that's important, it's also the consistency. So, it's not just enough to get one or two nights, good night's sleep in a week. We have to have this consistently on a regular basis. And there are so many definition and opinions what constitutes a good night's sleep in the media, that now it comes down to figuring out what works best for you and those that are aiming to achieve this as much as possible. See, because there's a lot of confusion here, right? So now we've discussed what a good night's sleep would be: 6 to 9 hours, depending upon your activity levels, of course. 20% of which should be, as I said earlier, it's got to be a deep sleep, and then at least a fourth of it's got to be the REM sleep, or that time period in which we have the rapid eye movement. All right. So now I want to talk to you about the side effects of sleep deprivation, the side effects, because we've all been there, sleepily putting on odd socks in the morning or stumbling around wearily in the dark. The obvious effects of not getting enough sleep really are kind of clear. We nod off through the day, we can't focus, where our heads are dropping. Remember in school, we'd fall asleep and our heads would jerk, and then we'd sit up erect once again. And as our days wear on, the effects of sleep deprivation only multiply. Regardless of how much coffee people try to drink, it's not going to offset it. And there are some things that happen as a direct result of having insufficient sleep, like becoming more prone to accidents. The poorer the quality sleep that you have, the more likely you are to have an accident, whether it be in the home or on the road or whatever. So, as a matter of fact, research has shown us that in the United States, 20% 20% of the car accidents occur as a result of a drowsy driver. And lack of energy causes our responses to be lowered. We're not as fast, our reflexes are dampened. And our awareness of our surroundings, it just affects us adversely, and it increases the chances that we're going to make a mistake, especially when you're driving. Now, listen, when you add that to the fact that you have people that are sleep deprived driving automobiles. On top of that, they're texting. On top of that, they're listening to some music or whatever, or a conversation that's going on. On top of that, in some states now, people, in order to get through the day, are going to be using certain medicaments and or the marijuana that's being promoted in many states. When you add all of this up, it's basically, and this is trivial to say, but it's an accident waiting to happen. See? And it's really not just road accidents, mistakes or discrepancies in our work due to the lack of attention span and the energy can lower overall productivity and job satisfaction. And, our ability to perform well in the workplace is going to be significantly decreased. It's really a shame. It really is a shame. And it's very insidious how it creeps up on us because we adapt to these things. We get used to it being that way. And unfortunately, we become the victims of somebody else's accident, or we cause an accident ourselves. So there are other side effects of sleep deprivation as well. Not getting enough sleep also leaves us more prone to developing other seemingly non-related health problems. See, as the body learns to function on lower levels of energy throughout a period of poor sleep, there's going to be less energy left over to help or aid the body in its recovery from other illnesses that might not seem directly influenced by your sleep levels, but indeed they really are. The lack of sleep has been linked to things such as diabetes. So what I'm saying here is the if you have poor quality sleep, you're more apt to develop type 2 diabetes. You're more apt to become obese. You're more apt to develop high blood pressure and even heart disease. Yeah, it's been known, listen, the lack or the poor quality of sleep has also been known to shorten one's overall life expectancy. So what I'm saying here is that if you have a person that consistently gets poor quality sleep, I can show you a person whose potential of not living long or having a short life expectancy is going to be substantially increased. That's what's going to happen. They're going to die young. They're going to die prematurely. They're going to die too soon. Now, while there are generally several other factors involved, it's still quite telling that the illnesses that I said a few moments ago could all be shaped or at least improved by examining our sleep patterns and our energy levels over a given period of time. There's been short-term studies where the individuals, the subjects, have deprived themselves of sleep to examine the immediate effects of sleep. And they've in those studies, they've noted heightened blood pressure, lowering of blood glucose levels, increased inflammation throughout the body, and it follows so that long-term persistence of these symptoms could lead to a more deeply rooted expression of these imbalances. What I'm saying here is that they start out innocuous and kind of trivial, but if it continues, they become a full-blown expression of disease. During the past wars, especially in Vietnam, one of the things that they would use to break the wills of the POWs is that they would deprive them of sleep in order to get information from them. And it's a very, very effective means of doing so as well. And the lack of sleep can also lead to imbalances in hormone levels, and it makes you more prone to mood swings and difficult emotional states. You know, you get depressed, you get angry easily, more easily, I should say. And there are physical side effects that affect sleep deprivation, and they include dull skin, the dark circles under the eyes, and that general overall fatigued expression or look that you see on people. I mean, when you're in the work force or workplace, I should say, and you're looking at people around you that are coming in, you can pick out the individual that didn't have a good night's sleep prior to coming in. So the question now is, why do so many people experience this uncomfortable and stressful sensation of not being able to sleep? I mean, you know, it used to be we didn't have this problem in generations or decades gone by, but it seems that there's so many more people that are experiencing this, and it's just increasing at an alarming rate. There's an overstimulation that we're presented with constantly. And it means that there's always something externally going on or happening that we really feel we need to catch up with or achieve. And this sense of needing to be aware of every little element of our lives, and more importantly, the need to be in control of it, is what keeps our minds so active, not only at nighttime, but in the daytime as well. So some of the basic or some of the top reasons why adults today are suffering a lack of sleep is, and number one, it's technology. It really is technology. You know, before technology became such a massive and overwhelming factor in our lives, our bodies were in tune with the rising and the setting of the sun. Not so much anymore. The further and further away from this we've moved, the less in tune our bodies have become. And so even with the most basic needs like sufficient sleep, it's been shaken by these external technologies. We have this need, as I said a few moments ago, we have to be in touch with everything that's going on. We have to be aware of every little thing on the internet. People are constantly sitting in front of the computer, searching the internet, reading this and reading that, finding out the latest news feed, and going on to their Facebook account and going on to Instagram. Or you see kids just continually looking down into their phones and just scrolling back and forth and back and forth. And this is what's going on. Actually become and have developed an addiction to these technologies. And what's happened, we've lost our connection with true or reality around us. So much so that during the days of sleeping, when the sun sleeps, what happens is the retinas in our eyes immediately detected a natural hormone that was called melatonin. When we were connected to nature, the sunlight would naturally produce a hormone called melatonin. That, you know, this hormone that people go to the drugstore and they buy to help them try to get some sleep. And it started as soon as the light started to decrease. That's what the body did. And melatonin, as this hormone, it causes us to feel sleepy. And during a healthy period of deep sleep, it remains elevated in the bloodstream. Now, I want you to think of this in terms of the bright or the blue light that's being emitted by the phone screens, the flashing lights, the iPhones, the smartphones, all of these technological devices that we become addicted to checking. We've got to check it like every 30 seconds. You find people just looking. I mean, I travel a lot, and I watch people, and I see this, and I see it, and the more I see it, the more I see it, because it's becoming ever increasing. As I look in the airports, people are just bent forward and they're looking on all of these types of devices. So what's happening is, and they do it at home, they do it at work, they do it in the car, all over the place. Now we even have the screens in the automobiles, so people can still be in touch with those devices as they drive 70 miles an hour down a highway. Anyway, when this blue light, this kind of light hits the retina, hits your eyes, The effect of melatonin is immediately, I said immediately, it's reversed. It stops and it promotes a state of wakefulness over that of sleep. See, no longer is that hormone being produced because we're sitting there even into the evening when our bodies should be shutting down, should be getting ready for sleep, should be producing that hormone that helps us sleep throughout the night. It's totally shut off. And there are a lot of people that think that they can't get to sleep unless the TV is on or a screen is going blaring in front of them. Now, all of this combined with the artificial lighting, all of these things, it's caused disrupted sleep patterns and lowered the overall quality of sleep we do get. And as the bright light we so crave lies inches away from us at nighttime, this is what's going on because we've got this addiction, this craving, and these lights all around us that's shutting the body's ability down to produce what it needs in order to go to sleep. It's just been terminated. So now that you know that, I want to talk to you about ways to combat this technology and this light related sleep issues. See, we've got to learn how to do this. And what you can do is you can dim the light. If you're one of those, look, I understand, I really do. Um, if you're married to your device, what you can do is you can dim the light on your device screen to the lowest possible setting. Dimming all of the lights in your house are actually going to send signals right back to the retina, to the body, to the brain, that it's time to wind down towards sleep. Now, at least 1 or 2 hours before your bedtime. Like if you think that you're going to go or you want to go to bed at about 10 o'clock at night, you want to start doing this about 9 or maybe even 8 o'clock at night. Turn off all the blue light devices in the house. That includes your TV, your computers, your tablets, your smartphones. That's going to help trigger the production of the melatonin, and sleeplessness or sleepiness, I should say, sleeplessness will be eliminated and sleepiness will now set in at the right time. You want to try to regulate this bedtime routine. Remember, I told you it has to be consistent, and you want to set this routine to occur at around the same time each and every evening so that it allows your body to create a regulated sleep cycle. Then also what you want to do is limit the mind stimulation in the hours leading towards bedtime. You want those to decrease. Activities such as reading a book, listening to music, meditating are all much more beneficial to still the mind and to help it focus on one singular thing, meaning that it's going to drift into sleep much easier. See? And charge any phones or devices that might tempt you in a moment of wakefulness away from the nightstand. And the further away you can get these phones or these devices from your brain, the further away, the better. See, that's what you've got to do. You've got to start changing these routines. Those are some of the things that you can do in the house an hour or two before you're wanting to go to sleep. Now, here's another thing that we can do. It's the diet and how it affects insomnia. Just as important now as moderating the external experiences before sleep is making sure that the internal aspect of the body is lined up for rest. Because there's studies that have shown that low carb diets and high sugar consumption, not just the bad kinds of sugar, high sugar consumption before bed or throughout the day, it's a huge contributing factor to the difficulties many people have sleeping. You give a child a little sugar, and I'll show you a child that's not going to sit still, that's going to be jittery and moving about. Well, the same thing happens in the adult body as well. Our physiology is not designed to deal with the typical carb-loaded Western way of eating, which is why insomnia and diet have become so strongly linked, especially in our society. If you've ever put petrol into a diesel engine, you know that putting the wrong fuel in has less than ideal results, right? You can't put gas into a diesel engine. Well, The same applies to us. Not only does the wrong type of fuel have the tendency to make us gain weight, but it also is going to wreck our ability to get good, consistent quality sleep. Now, refined carbs like white rice, sugar, products that are made out of white flour like bread, crackers, and cakes, they're probably second only to caffeine in reducing the quality of your ability of getting a good quality sleep, I should say. So knowing a little bit about how your body responds to food is going to make it a little bit clearer to you in your pursuit of trying to get a good night's sleep on a consistent basis. Now, what happens is when you eat those refined carbs, they get broken down into blood glucose and in your gut, and they're absorbed very, very quickly into your bloodstream because they are what's called high on the glycemic index, and they make your blood sugar shoot up really, really quickly, really high. That's a glucose spike. And this is bad news for your body. So it spills out a load of insulin that's going to try to deal with the threat. And because it's had to do an emergency rush job, it overshoots the mark, which means you're going to end up with low blood sugar. So if you're eating natural foods, which tend to be have a lower glycemic index, that violent swing in the blood sugar and the insulin doesn't happen. Now, it sounds a lot easier than it is, but familiarizing yourself with your body and the way particular foods influence your sleep is vital if you're going to make any progress in improving your sleep, right? So what you've got to do is you can go ahead and you can make a log or a diary and chart how you sleep. You know, if you're eating cookies or crackers or white rice or something like that before bedtime, and you notice that you have a poor quality of sleep. But if you eat maybe something that's a natural sugar, like a piece of fruit, whatever that might be, or some yogurt or something, and you notice that you satisfy your craving, but you have a better night's sleep, you want to go ahead and start to eliminate those things that stir it up and start to use those things that help you to get a good night's sleep as far as your diet is concerned. Because there's reasons for lack of sleep in adults. And we want to talk about one of the reasons is lifestyle. You know, while both of the factors that I've discussed here already fall into the lifestyle category at some level, there's also no denying that there is more to a sleep disorder that might seem initially obvious. Now, anyone can tell you to put down the phone before bed, and our fascination with improving diet and fitness stems far deeper than doing so purely for sleep reasons. Now, there's factors such as work hours, work location, nap taking, your sleep cycle regulation, environmental factors can all have just as significant an effect on our sleep patterns. And so these things should be considered when you're trying to improve it. You know, for example, if you're working long hours at home and often don't stop working until later on in the evening, I can assure you that this can create a hazy, blurred confusion between sleep and work hours. And what I mean is that the quality of neither your work nor sleep time is going to be optimized to what it could be. They're both going to be adversely affected. However, if you take naps regularly and you find yourself in need of sleep at random intervals during the day, this really is an indication that your nighttime sleep patterns are out of balance. See? And I'm all for naps. You know, one nap in the afternoon, it can do 15, 20 minutes. It can really supercharge you in a lot of ways. However, if you're finding that you're dozing off through the day quite a bit or frequently, and you're needing to have frequent naps, it's showing you that your night's sleep is certainly out of balance. Now, to minimize the necessity for naps, especially frequent naps, and maximize the nighttime hours, what you want to do is to try to regulate your evening sleep cycle, adhering to a strict before bed routine. Because as we've already discussed, the hour or two before bed is really going to be most crucial to getting a good night's sleep. It really is. So you've got to develop these habits or this routine, if you will, in order to prepare for a good night's sleep. Now, also, I want to talk to you about the environment. Environmentally, it's often difficult to manipulate the external factors to maximize your sleep quality, and yet there's several things that can be done. You know, it's interesting. I alluded to the fact that I travel a lot, and when we use these different hotel venues, one of their biggest or marketing or selling points is the quality of the bedding. They're always focusing on, you know, the the quality of the mattresses and the quality of the sleep and whatnot. As a matter of fact, years ago, there used to be this big waterbed deal. It was all the craze, and a lot of hotels got water beds in, and they touted the fact that they had water beds and blah blah blah. But what they found out, to their dismay, was that the water beds were actually adversely affecting the sleeping qualities of their customers. You know, a lot of business people, a lot of we do a lot of traveling and whatnot. And if you don't get in a good night's sleep before your presentation is going to it's going to be adversely affected. So then they resolved that, and they started to invest in the quality of the bedding, because it does affect the quality of sleep that you get. So getting back to our homes, what we want to do is that we want to clean up our room. Sleeping with less clutter, it's going to reduce the stimulation around us and the clutter in the brain. It really is. As you simplify your environment, it's going to reduce the stimulation to the brain. You can even maybe light a candle, something so simple as lighting a candle, or diffusing maybe essential oils, or turning off any devices an hour before bed can contribute to your sleep quality. You want to also minimize the outside noise. You know, it might seem obvious, but choosing an environment that's not overly impacted by outside noises and disruptions is a huge way you can improve your sleep quality. And if you know that you're a light sleeper, make sure you consider that when you're choosing a bedroom. And and there's also sleep aids. They have these, and I don't know exactly what they're called, but you can turn it on, and it'll sound like rain falling on the roof, or it'll sound like waves rushing into a shore, or seagulls, or whatever it might be, or gentle winds blowing in that. That helps some people that like that little bit of innocuous stimulation in that. And again, you can use that, but remember, you got to turn off that phone. I can't stress this enough, because there's too many people. They still rely on their phone during the nighttime hours, and arguing your case by saying you need it to wake you up is just an excuse. Which brings me to tip number 5, if you're keeping count. This is the 5th tip: buy an alarm clock. Right? There's a fascinating study on the influence of lifestyle factors on insomnia in Japan. Can be can be I looked to, and it was amazing when they did these things that I shared with you, how it affected the quality of their sleep. And look, all right, you might say, well, hey doc, I use my phone as an alarm clock. Okay, fine. If you do, set your alarm in your phone, and then pick the phone up and set it away from you, like on your dresser, or far away in your bedroom, so it's not right next to you in your nightstand. If you've been on any of the previous webinars that I've done, especially regarding brain health, you'll know that that radiation that's emanating off of that phone is adversely affecting your brain. And I don't want to get off onto a rabbit trail talking about that, but suffice it to say, just take your phone, put it on your dresser, or on a tabletop that's far away from you if you're using it as your alarm clock. That way, it's not going to be adversely affecting you. And when the alarm does go off, you're not going to be able to reach over and just hit it and shut it off for another 5 minutes. It's going to cause you to get up out of bed and go over and shut it off. Okay? All right. So that's the environment. You want to go ahead and do that. and maybe even some fresh air in there at night, opening a window or whatever, is going to benefit you, or even closing the door to the rest of the house. That may benefit you. But, analyze the environment, your bedroom, and see what's going to work for you so that you can simplify it, you can calm it down, and you can reduce the stimulants that are in it. Okay? Now, we want to talk about, now that we've done those things, or we realize those things, I want to talk to you about your sleep and how it affects your mental health. Because the quality of sleep is as effective or beneficial to your health as is eating, drinking, and breathing, because it allows your cells to repair themselves. It allows your brain to process and receive information. What you may not realize is that your body goes through all of its necessary repair, all of its necessary regeneration and replenishment of the energy it needs. It occurs during sleep. Also, it it's also linked to various mental health disorders such as anxiety and depression, as low levels of physical energy translate into poor cognitive activity and a lack of ability to process thoughts clearly throughout the day that follows. See, it allows the brain to flush out toxins. There is a pumping mechanism that occurs during the sleep, and it's imperative for quality mental health. And when you're seeking to boost your mental health, it makes sense that improving the sleep quality should be high up on the list of recommended treatments. Really, really, really. And the difference that you'll feel after several consecutive good night's sleep in your overall mood and awareness is going to be incredible. I promise you that. So what you want to do is prioritize your sleep over anything and everything else. Now, as I go on, I want you to know that lack of sleep also contributes to the likelihood of developing and or worsening a mental health disorder. Let me repeat that. A lack of sleep also contributes to the likelihood, to the increased potential of an individual developing and or, if they already have it, worsening a mental health disorder. So if you're prone to struggling with these issues or think you might be at risk, it's a really good idea to prioritize your sleep. As a matter of fact, there was a Harvard Health research that stated that over 70 different types of sleep disorders are in existence today, and that number is increasing. Now, the most common problems are, of course, insomnia, which is a difficulty falling and or staying asleep. There's obstructive sleep apnea. That's a disorder. It's a disordered breathing that causes multiple awakenings. It causes the person to awaken frequently throughout the night. And then there's various movement syndromes, like unpleasant sensations that prompt the night fidgetings or the jerkings and whatnot that you might be aware that you go through, or your wife or husband or your children experience. And then there's also narcolepsy. This is extreme sleepiness or falling asleep suddenly during the day. I mean, a person can be looking at something and then boom, immediately just fall asleep, or reading in the midst of research and then boom, they fall asleep. That's narcolepsy. There have been so many overlaps between the study of mental health disorders and sleep disorders, then researchers have regularly concluded that there has to be an overlap and one is affecting the other. So again, I want to emphasize, really do due diligence in your pursuit of trying to get consistent, good quality sleep. So with that, I want to talk about the REM sleep and how you can boost it. REM, it just stands for rapid eye movement. That kind of sleep occurs in cycles in about every 90 to 100 minutes throughout the night. And it accounts for about 20 to 25% of the total sleep time that we should be getting. And I have to tell you, though, that it does start to decrease with age. Now, By that I mean a newborn baby may be getting 80% of the total sleep time in REM stage. And then as we're maybe in our 60s or 70s, and as we continue to get older, we might only be getting 20 to 25% or even less than that as we continue to progress through time. But in particular, the REM sleep should dominate the latter half of your sleep period, not the first 4 hours, but the last 4 hours. That's when you should really be getting into REM. Those hours just before you're waking up. You talk to people, and man, it's so hard to waken this person to get them up. They're in a deep REM just before they awaken. And the REM component of each sleep cycle typically increases as the night goes on. So as I said, it increases through the last half of the night, the last 4 hours, if you will. And the closer you get to waking up, the deeper and deeper and deeper it gets. And as the name suggests, it's associated with the rapid or random side to side movements of closed eyes. It's a phenomenon which can be monitored and measured by its technique called the electrooculography, the EOG. That's what they do when they do sleep studies on you. And they're looking at that eye motion. Now, it's not constant. It's what's called, it's tonic, but it's intermittent or phasic. So it's not all the time. It's not like pressing on a doorbell and keeping your finger on the buzzer, but it's like hitting it, hitting it, hitting it, and releasing it, and hitting it, releasing it. So these are intermittent, these are phasic, and it's still not known exactly what purpose it serves, but many researchers believe that the eye movements may relate to like internal visual images of the dreams that occurred during the REM sleep cycle, especially as they're associated with brain waves, because we see the brain waves are spiking during this time in regions of the brain involved with vision, as well as elsewhere in what's known as the cerebral cortex. Okay, so that's the REM sleep. Now, and I promised you and how to boost it. So we're going to talk about how do we then and boost this REM sleep. So by cultivating a day and nighttime routine, remember the body is connected to nature, the rising and the setting of the sun, as well as the rising of the moon. We can more successfully engage with REM sleep when the need arises. Now, these following guidelines regarding your diet, the fitness, the health regimes, the lifestyle factors, the environmental factors, and the immediate proximity to where you plan to sleep all contribute to raising your levels of REM sleep. So I talked to you about your diet and the reduction of the cheap carbohydrates. The fitness is very good, being active throughout the day, adequate amounts of water throughout your day. The environmental factors, talking about controlling the use of the technology within your home, the shutting off or shutting down of certain things an hour to 2 hours before, starting to focus on one activity or another, like reading a book or meditating or whatever that might be, and also um, controlling the environment in which you're going to sleep, making sure the lights are dim, that your technology is far away from your brain, using an alarm clock, all of those things, even using the sound effect devices that I talked about earlier. Those are all going to contribute to your ability to increase the levels of REM sleep, which is very, very important. Um, I want you to consider one that you could start to introduce into your current lifestyle, one action that you can take, and that is start to just think about relaxing when you're in bed. Don't think about what you've got to do tomorrow. Don't think about what chores you're going to be faced with or who you have to call or whatever. But what you might consider doing is, as you lie there, if you're going to think about anything, think about the day and all that you achieved, all the goals you fulfilled, all the people that you benefited, you ministered to, you were an asset to. You want to do those types of things. Think on the good things, see? And that's going to help your body to rest. And you'll look forward to tomorrow in the right way because the amount of joy you achieved through the accomplishments that you accomplished, through the accomplishments that you were able to achieve throughout your day, it's going to make you look forward with joy and great expectation to tomorrow as well. Okay? Then also meditation for sleep disturbances. You know, there's an amazing way to start maximizing your sleep is by learning how to meditate, by becoming more aware of your thoughts, the tendencies, the patterns. Meditation supports an overall more balanced, rounded, energized lifestyle. Now, I'm not talking about, getting into the mantras and all these other things. If you want to do that, that's great. But just meditating, like I talked about a few moments ago, thinking on those good things. It's an aspect of that kind of lifestyle that will help you to promote regular sleep cycles. There are really a lot of different effective meditations that can be done to support a better cycle of sleep. Um, Many people find it difficult to know where or how to start with their meditation journey, and it helps to start just by taking just by thinking about those good things that I talked about. Studies have found that regular meditation can have long-term benefits for our sleep cycles, and they can even fight against insomnia. It helps you to kind of drift into a deeper state of sleep. More importantly, to remain there. It's a calming focus that, helps you to get the stress out of you. And it encourages your nervous system to relax, and you're going to notice that your breathing is going to slow down, and your mind is going to be at greater ease. I said earlier that sleeping helps a person to focus. You might consider opening up, if you have a family Bible, just opening it up at night. And if you don't know where to start, the Psalms, many people find are very, very soothing. And these are literally songs, SONGSs, that are called Psalms, PSALMSs, that the writers wrote, and that they would put to music, and they would sing to the Lord about how great he is and all of his many benefits and all of the wonderful victories that he brought that individual through, and how he never changes and how he loves us and whatnot. I know it may be a radical departure from what you've heard before, but it's worth a try if you're serious about getting a really good night's sleep. Just opening up that family Bible, picking out the Psalms, and starting to read there wherever you want. Okay? And there's other things you can do. There's the sleep cycle apps. For those of you that, you're into your technology, I don't want you to feel left out. There are a variety of apps that are available out there now that can actually monitor your sleep cycle. Now, I'm not a I'm not saying that you need to do these things or that you should do these things, but I would be remiss if I didn't offer you these things. These apps measure things like when you enter deeper periods of sleep, when your potential for REM sleep is at the highest, and when and how you start to enter the lighter levels of sleep. And, by monitoring maybe your current sleep tendencies, it can give you an awareness of how to best maximize your sleep times. You can start to use your sleep time to your advantage and maybe figure out triggers or reasons contributing to your lack of sleep. See, let me say that this, if you're starting to make changes and you want to see how these changes are affecting you, maybe you can download one of these apps and see how poor quality the sleep is that you're getting for the first week. Okay, so you got that. Then you can go ahead and you can start to make some of these changes, introduce them into your habits that I've suggested you do. And as you make those changes, you can monitor the changes in the quality of sleep that you're now getting as a result of these changes that you make. And you can see the improvements, and it can be used as a motivator to encourage you to make even more changes so that you can see when you're getting consistent good quality night sleeps. And then when you're in that zone, if you will, when you've created those new habits and you know that you're getting good quality sleep, then you can get that app off your phone and you won't any longer need it. But there's one app, it's called Sleep Cycle. It's simply called Sleep Cycle, and it's available, I think, for both Apple and Android. Um, but the only warning I'll mention is to ensure it doesn't cause you to keep your phone too close. Remember, try instead to download it maybe onto a tablet or an iPad or something like that to minimize the potential for distractions in the form of other notifications, right? Or you can put it on your phone, but keep it a distance away so that it doesn't distract you and so that it doesn't, adversely affect you with the radiation that's being emitted off of it. And like I said, once you know where your zone is and you're happy with your progress, then you can get rid of the app because you've created a new way of living for your body. Now, the flow state and sleep. Now, any artist who's familiar with the deeply focused sensation of state will know that it's a state during which our creative capacity is heightened, which leads to a more intense and lengthened state of focus. It can also feel like we're more deeply in tune with our bodies and minds. It's really interesting to consider our capacity to focus in terms of our ability to cultivate deep states of sleep because the brain waves are going to be involved in maintaining what we call a flow state or the alpha and the theta waves. These are the same brain waves involved in maintaining continued and deep states of sleep. So it follows that after an intense period of flow state of sleep, we find it's going to be easier to get to sleep. So channeling the energy in one direction consistently means that the energy is more accustomed to going down those pathways. What you're doing is creating new habits for the brain. This is going to improve your capacity to enter into any state, including a state of deep sleep. Now, I got to tell you, there's a lot of different opinions surrounding insomnia and creativity, most of which differ depending on the individual. Now, some people claim to find it productive, to stay up all night to work. Oh man, I'm really heightened, I'm keen, I'm focused. And that's the only entering into a focus state during those hours. While there's others that strongly assert that the benefits of nightly sleep routine and a balanced sleep pattern, they waken more focused and more in tune with themselves. While in the end, it comes down to lifestyle factors and figuring out actually what works best for you, for each individual. If the flow state is elusive for some during the daylight hours, it makes sense for them to postpone any work-related pursuits and vice versa. Now, the science is there to back it up. However, achieving a state of deep sleep is a similar sensation of continued focus and calm awareness that exists during the flow state. So look, if you want to learn more about that, you can Google flow state and find out all about it if that lights your fire, so to speak. I'm not a big proponent of it, but again, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about it because it has a lot to do with insomnia and the people's excuse or belief that that's when they're focused, when they're awake and they can't sleep, and that they have a rush of ideas and inventions and original thoughts and whatnot. Well, again, it's up to the individual, whatever suits you. Because I want to talk now about the psychophysiological insomnia. Now, this is the kind of insomnia is possibly one of the most difficult to deal with because during a period of psychophysiological insomnia, an individual he or she experiences a lack of sleep during which their thoughts are preoccupied with the fact that they are currently not sleeping, and they're worrying about the consequences, the effects, and the outcomes of this fact. Now, if you've ever had a big meeting or experienced a lack of sleep the night before that big meeting, as you apprehend and overanalyze the potential outcomes of the day ahead, you know what I'm talking about. It affects, unfortunately, and this is true, it affects more females than males, and it's characterized by the onset of anxiety as the patient or the individual prepares for sleep. They're worrying about the quality of the impending night's sleep, the duration of it or the lack thereof, and the consequences should they not achieve sufficient amount of sleep. This preoccupation with the sleep stems from an initial experience of insomnia, and subsequently what happens, they develop a fear of returning to that state. And that causes the onset of the psychophysiological insomnia. It's like a negative reinforcement. Now, this disorder can be treated by engaging in relaxation techniques and meditation to first calm down the nerve system, the mind, and the body to prepare it for sleep. This is something that the individual has to engage in. They have to take steps in pulling the plug on the world around them, reassuring themselves over and over again that they will and they can get a good night's sleep, taking the steps to shut down the technology, making certain they're eating the right foods and not the wrong foods, and then starting to get into that landing pattern, if you will, an hour to 2 hours outside of their designated touchdown or their sleep time. See, but you can do it. Now, with all of that, I want to talk about sleep enhancing foods, because I know if you go back a while, you remember that, when you couldn't sleep, mom or dad would heat up some milk and have you drink it so that you could get a good night's sleep. And now, I've discussed with you the importance of a regulated and balanced diet in cultivating your healthy sleep pattern. But I want you to know that there are some foods which encourage and do promote a deeper sleep more so than others do. So here we go, okay? You want to eat, if you eat protein-rich foods that are rich in the amino acid tryptophan. And I know you know about this because turkey, right? Everybody at Thanksgiving, after they've eaten that turkey dinner, where do you find them? Well, they're either asleep in the big recliner, they're asleep on the couch, they're asleep on the floor, but they are sleeping somewhere. And that's because they ate that protein that was rich in that tryptophan, which is in turkey, and it does benefit and is a benefit to those that are seeking to improve their sleep. So those types of foods. This amino acid helps to encourage the sleep-producing hormone. Remember what it is? That's right, melatonin. So what are they? Well, you can get it from eating chicken. You can get it from eating turkey. This is the tryptophan I'm talking about. Milk and dairy. If you don't have an adverse reaction to milk and dairy, nuts does a great job. Seeds. Those are all good food choices like that. And combining them with like a wild rice, a pasta, or potatoes, that helps the body to get the most benefit from the tryptophan. That's what you want to do. So if you're someone who prefers not sleeping after a heavy meal, there's also certain snack foods that will encourage sleep better than others. And the trick here is to simply to be aware of the effects of these before you sleep. Now, like snack foods, I mentioned the nuts, like walnuts are really very good with the amino acids. Walnuts, almonds, green leafy vegetables, the root veggies, those are very good choices to help you to return to a calmer state of mind and ease anxiety before before you're going to bed. See, so those kinds of foods, if you're not into eating a big meal, you can go ahead and you can have those little snacks. Now, what about essential oils? You got it. Anyone not familiar with the concept of essential oils, because they are really, essentially, they're broken down into volatile organic molecules. That's how it works. And they can change quickly from a solid to a liquid state at room temperature. So they're called volatile because they change their state quickly. But the most important fact to know about these different oils is the benefit of this class is that they are derived from organic plant sources, and they can be really, really very powerfully as far as the fragrance are concerned. Now, some of these natural fragrances have really proven to promote and induce a calmer state of mind, and it also encourages a more balanced or central nervous system, which is going to allow us to prepare for, you got it, sleep much more effectively. So for this reason, there are a lot of people now that are using essential oils. Now, the best ones out there for sleep or to promote that calm would be lavender, chamomile, sandalwood, lang lang. And if you want to look it up, it's, if I remember, it's spelled YLANG hyphen YLANG. It's pronounced lang lang. And cedarwood. Those are really good. So again, it's like lavender, chamomile, sandalwood, lang lang, and cedarwood. Those are really, really good in sleeping environments to help infuse the air with pleasing, calming molecules that will help you to relax your nervous system, encourage the breathing to become relaxed and deeper, and it will help the individual in that environment to fall asleep much more easily. As a matter of fact, there's been study that's shown the effect of lavender and the effect it has on the nervous system. And it shows that the use of the essential oils have a positive effect on the emotional state and the physical intent, the physical tension as well. You know, a lot of people are really uptight. So the essential oils they have a lot of benefits, those that I mentioned, and they're a great way to begin exploring if you're new to the potential that they hold. And you can get one of those uh, um, aromizers or aromatizers or whatever they're called, and you can get those little drops of those essential oils and put them into your bedroom like an hour before you're ready to go to sleep, so that your whole room is saturated with that. And then when you go in there, you're just overcome with that smell of lavender, and it makes you actually, you look forward to going to sleep when you have an environment like that. See, and here's some other strategies that you can use. As I mentioned earlier, there's a lot that will help you in promoting a deeper state of sleep. And I, I want you to just think about the things that I said and consider which ones might best suit you. See, from the meditation, you know, reading the Bible and the Psalms, to the journaling, to changing your diet or learning how to use the essential oils. There's a lot of strategies that you can use singularly or put them together that you can use to improve your sleep. And I'd like to encourage you not to give up if trying, you know, one of these things doesn't help, especially immediately, you know, because we are very impatient lots, and we want things to happen by yesterday. And you got to give it a chance. You know, use it for a few nights and see if it doesn't improve one thing. And if that doesn't, then add another and just work with it. And because it's got to fit your particular sleep issue and your particular lifestyle. So please don't lose heart. You know, if you're doing one thing and it doesn't work, just give another thing a try and start to build on them. Okay? All right. So I want to tell you here that we're done, but this is only the beginning for you. See, I hope, I really do. I hope that this time that we've spent together has been informative for you, and it's drawn your awareness to the benefits of a consistent cycle of quality deep sleep can have in your life. Because look, remember, if you're not getting it, it can create diseases and it can shorten your lifespan. So I want you to get a good, consistent night's sleep over and over and over. And if you're one of the millions of people that are still struggling to find out what works for your particular sleep issue, I really do encourage you to try some of these things that I shared with you, you know, because the difference you'll feel after a few nights of good sleep, it's going to make all those sleepless nights seem worth while. You know what I'm talking about? Okay. So look, if you do have any questions, what I want you to do is to email it. You can use our email address. It's office at pro-activewellness.com. That's again, office at pro followed by a hyphen activewellness.com, or you can call our office at area code 217-431-2010, area code 217-431-2010, and we'll be more than happy to help you get through the quagmire, to get through this, because we, again, my goal is to help you achieve the best performance of your life. So I do want to thank you sincerely. Thank you for allowing me to share this information with you, for this opportunity that you've given me in doing so. And, you know, if we can be of any help to you in any way, shape, or form, again, please don't hesitate in contacting us so that we can do just that for you. All right? So, once again, thanks so much. And until the next time that we're together, and as always, God bless. God bless.